1134 today to schedule your appointment. That's 217-824-1134. SIU Medicine, forward for you.
WTIM. This is the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai. My next guest today is Dan Hough, Emergency Management Director for the Montgomery County Emergency Management Agency. Dan, welcome along.
Good morning. How are you today?
Yeah, you're doing okay, and just taking the day one step at a time. As always, I appreciate you asking. It's good to have you on the show. I think it's been a couple months since you were on, and it's good to talk to you. Let's get right into it, because I know weather is something you obviously pay a lot of attention to as the EMA is concerned, of course, and I've been sort of following what the weather has been like around here. I know Montgomery County is one of the counties that we here at WTIM pay attention to when it comes to weather. If anything big comes up, we come on the air. And I know there's been a lot in Christian County and a little bit southeast of us. Talk about what you folks have seen in Montgomery County in terms of weather this summer, and how you folks at the EMA have stepped in when you've needed to.
Yeah, it seems like spring weather is as we know it, with the thunderstorms and tornadoes and how we used to associate that as being the active part of the year for severe weather. We see that now in all 12 months of the year. So we stay pretty active with that. We've gotten a lot more information and databases and things that we can look at to predict storms and watch that with live radar and things of that nature. So our resources that we can call upon have become much more at our fingertips. So that helps. We've seen some pretty severe weather hit central Illinois. We hear the term Tornado Alley. It seems that has found a new pathway. We've always believed that we're part of it, but now we seem to be more active for central Illinois. We've seen several communities within the region here get hit with some pretty severe weather. So it's literally constant part of our daily activity to check the weather, to make sure whether it's tornadic or whether it's just heat related information, we try to pass that on. I've got one of my volunteers, Doug White. He watches the weather like a hawk. He is constantly making sure that any of that news coming from the National Weather Service is relayed to our Facebook page, and we get it out to the public best that we can. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We've received some news, that we are going to get our National Weather Service radio warning back on the air here, hopefully sooner than later. It's still being reviewed by some legal teams to make sure that both parties are between the Montgomery County side and the National Weather Service. We'll be able to get that back up on the air. It's been off the air for about maybe 3 years now. So we received word here that we're going to get that back on the air soon. So we don't have a target date yet, but we're working towards that.
I think, and going off that last point, I think the last time you were on, you had spoken about, trying to get that thing worked on. Sounds like it's really picked up in the last few months. What's that process like in terms of, getting it back on, getting all of the, the approvals and everything kind of checked off to, get the system back up and running?
So, it's not just as simple as flipping a switch. What we have to do is find a location that can house the National Weather Service's repeater and antenna, and it has to be a location that would cover kind of Christian, Bond, Fayette, Montgomery. It's a regional system. So, it has to be put in a certain area so that it makes contact with all those other areas. So the National Weather Service had really tried to find a place. They didn't have much luck with that because of interference maybe that's on the tower already that they were looking at, or it just wasn't high enough, didn't have enough coverage. So finally, we sat down with them and we talked about some of the locations that my office had access to, and we looked at those. We have another site review coming up that will kind of be the final point that we can look at and make sure that the tower, you have to look at loads, what's already on the tower and what they're going to add to the tower. Can the tower hold that kind of load? Because these antennas are 16 to 20 foot tall, and the wind loads and things like that would we have to have engineers look at them. So legal department has looked at the paperwork side of it. Now we have to get the engineers there to look and make sure that the equipment that we're going to hang on the tower is going to be capable of doing that. So that's our next step. And we have the site identified. We have the paperwork approved. We just need to get them here to look at the tower to make sure that what they're going to add to it is not going to cause a problem.
Yeah, and in terms of like the physical nature of that equipment with how high it goes, like the way I kind of see it is that, like, obviously it needs to, physically work and stay up when severe weather happens. So that way you can use the equipment to then tell people about said severe weather. Is that kind of how you folks think of it?
Yes. We don't want to make a good situation worse by adding something to a tower that was designed for, something else. And now we're going to add more weight to it and cause that to be, compromised. So we're doing everything right to make sure that is being handled properly so that we can get this, critical equipment back on the air, get the people warned. We have outdoor warning sirens for this type of thing. Now we want to get that indoor warning with the radios and things like that so that we can get those on the air and let people know that there's things, weather events coming their way.
All right. And that is the update there from Dan Hough, Emergency Management Director for the Montgomery County Emergency Management Agency. And I know that's been a long process going there. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about a couple other things, including the local emergency planning committee and possibly also a commodity flow study that is going on. We'll talk about all that on the other side of this break right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Fulcher, summer intern on the RFD radio network. Let's take a look at the markets, starting with September corn, 436 3/4 down 5.5. December 460 1/4 down 5 1/4. March 476 3/4 down 4 3/4. Soybeans, September 1153 1/2 down 5 1/4. November 1171 3/4 down 6. January 1188 down 5 1/4. Now taking a look at Chicago wheat, September 648 1/2 up 10. KC wheat, September 720 1/4 up 13 1/4. Now taking a look at our livestock. Lean hogs, October 82.70 down 1.65. Live cattle, October 228.40 up 50 cents. December 227.72 up 45 cents, and feeder cattle September 345.22 down 92 cents. This is Jonna Fulcher on the RFD Radio Network.
Does your bank offer rewards on qualified signature-based debit card purchases? If not, then we need to talk. Hi, my name is Julie Sanchez with People's Bank and Trust. Join the growing number of our customers who are earning cash back on all qualifying debit card purchases. You already use your debit card. Now make it work for you with Save by Spending rewards from People's Bank and Trust. Earning rewards is as easy as shop, sign, and save. Call 888-PBT-1954 and find out more about our Save by Spending rewards program today. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Brandy Bruley here, Superintendent of Taylorville, inviting you to find out the great things happening in our district. Tune in on air or online to the WTIM Morning Show the first Thursday of the month at 8:40 when we present our monthly Good News segment. From academics to the arts to athletics and more, we'll focus on how we achieve student success every month. Tune in on air or online when the WTIM Morning Show presents the Taylorville School District Good News segment the first Thursday of each month at 8:40. And go Tornadoes.
Oh, tried cotton for a year. Planted it, walked away, checked back at harvest. All this?
Yeah, this is the year that I won the Rice Bowl.
Corn so tall, we need an FFA clearance.
We've all heard the stories that get bigger every season. Fun to tell, hard to trust. When you choose Dyna-Gro Seed, you get performance proven in real local conditions, backed by data and results you can count on year after year. Dyna-Gro Seed, for real. Visit seedyoucantrust.com.
Looking for your next ride? Come to Trinity Automotive. Right off Route 29 in Taylorville, we have the largest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram inventory in Christian County, plus a certified service team that stands out. Stop in today or click the banner on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Spring brings brighter days and more time to enjoy them. Your home should too. At Hickory Point Garden Homes in Forsyth, enjoy one-story living and walking paths right outside your door. Spend less time on upkeep and more time enjoying spring. Learn more by clicking our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue to talk with Dan Hough, Emergency Management Director for the Montgomery County Emergency Management Agency. We spent the first segment talking about some of the weather that we've seen over the summer in Montgomery County and the radio emergency system that they're hoping to officially get back on the air very soon. Something else I want to talk about, local emergency planning committee. Sounds like something you folks are involved in. Tell our listeners about what that's about and how it works.
Yeah, so the LEPC, the Local Emergency Planning Committee, is a local group that is under the umbrella of the EMA here in Montgomery County. It involves everything from first responders, school districts, hospitals, extended care facilities, farm chemical companies, the tier 2 reporting people. So any company that has or business in our county that has a certain amount of chemicals needs to send in a report each year and notify us of what they have in their facility. So as well as the rail companies that travel through the county. So we have 4 railroads that come through, and so what we did was apply for a grant and through the state of Illinois that has given us the opportunity to do a commodity flow study that will go over the next year and a half or so for us to be able to count the trucks that come through Montgomery County via the interstate and the secondary roads. And we are going to, we're currently in that first phase of that count where we send our people out and count the trucks. We look at the placard on the truck. Each truck has a placard identifying what the hazardous load is in that. If they're carrying such a load, that would be identified we write that number down. That will then be put into a study to give us an idea of what travels through Montgomery County, both on the roadways and the railways. We have pipelines that we know run through Montgomery County, so we have already identified that. We don't have any shipyards, so that's not part of it. Thank goodness we don't meet that need. So, but what we'll do at the end of this study is to figure out what kind of chemicals and hazardous materials travel through our area so that we can now plan and educate our first responders, our nursing homes, our hospitals. In the event that we have an incident, we will be educated in how to handle those situations. It's very important. You know, we have the right to know what comes through our county, and that's why we're doing this study. We try to keep our public safe, and this is one way that we can do that. So the grant is for 3 years. The first year is the study. The next 2 years, we will put together tabletop exercises and full exercises to bring in our first responders, our hospitals, the key stakeholders within this, so that we can plan and exercise and do training with these type of chemicals.
And so is this something where, you know, like, let's say there's some incident that happens involving the hazardous chemicals, then is it so that, you know, you do the training and then you'll know, oh yeah, you know, we know this thing comes through, and, you know, the first responders know to do this, this, and this? Is that kind of the end goal here?
Yes. So we would take whatever kind of exercise that we're going to do, and if it involves, you know, this is a farming community, we know that anhydrous comes through here. So let's say that anhydrous is going to be our key chemical that's involved. We plan an evacuation. We do that study with maybe some people that are injured in the process, and our hospitals know how to handle an influx of injured people or exposed people that have been exposed to that anhydrous. So we're not caught off guard. We have planned for it, we've trained for it, and we know that chemical, how to handle it. So it's not that we're going to be able to know every chemical that comes through, but at least we have a better understanding how to handle a mass exposure of such types of chemicals. So it's just preparedness. Again, in emergency management, we want to prepare for the bad day. In the event that it happens, we have our people to the best level of training that we can do. We've prepared for it, and now we know how to handle it, and we can be doing what we need to do.
And yeah, it sounds like you folks are working towards that exact outcome there. So yeah, really, really interesting to hear about that. Something that I had not really, I guess, thought about before, but it sounds like you folks did. And you know, knowing what typically comes through Montgomery County, you our folks are getting on that. Less than a minute to go. Where can folks get more information on anything we've discussed today, or anything about the Montgomery County EMA in general?
You know, they can reach out to my office at Montgomery County Emergency Management. It's located at 120 North Main Street in Hillsboro. I'm in the lower level of the courthouse there. So you can stop by the office, or you can reach out at 217-532-9560. And also my email is danh@montgomerycountyil.gov. So, you know, I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody about it.
All right. We actually are just about out of time. Sorry about that. Dan Hough, thank you.
Yep.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville. 96.1 FM Taylorville. 107.5 FM Shelbyville. 107.9 FM Pena-Nicole.